Yo, 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 yo. We're starting a little early here. What is up? Time for the week 16 fantasy football show. I suppose this might get posted afterwards, so if you're watching, fast forward, look at the live chat, see when some questions come in. We got an early vote here for Krampus. Great vote. I did not vote on this one because I'm interested to see where the vote goes without me in there, but I was between Krampus and Scrooge. I'd probably vote Krampus myself as well. Pretty sure Black Christmas won't get any votes unless somebody thinks it's the old version, and Better Watch Out. It's really good and I recommend it, and I can't really say much about it. It's just one you gotta watch. And you can watch the trailer. It will not ruin the experience, but also, it's different than the movie. Let's see. Let's see what's been going on today around the NFL by checking the news from today while we wait to see if anybody's got any questions. Aaron Rodgers, I couldn't believe how many Packers fans were in Seattle on Sunday night. Same here. That was odd. I heard a Go Pack Go chant in the second quarter when the Packers were on offense. Seattle never used to be like that, so shout out to the Seahawks fans for selling their tickets. Yeah, that was very odd how loud and how many Green Bay Packers fans there were in Seattle. I agree, Aaron. CC, what is up? What it do? You'll be doing NFL draft content? Heck yes, CC. I didn't know that you followed that draft content. I will be. I mean, that's coming soon, right? A couple weeks, basically. I'll start to look at it. I don't know how quickly I'll actually get out content, but I'm going to try to, start to get it out as quickly as possible. But there's, the first bit of it is kind of getting everything set up, getting my database built out of all the players and everything. I don't even, have that yet. So the first portion's a lot of just setup and in my free time just doing some mock drafts just for the heck of it. But really, that's kind of useless practice until I familiarize myself with the class more. But I can get myself familiar with that first expected first round so far pretty quickly and start to kind of speculate on how the draft might go once we have that, once the playoffs are in place, once we know those first, 18 teams? Is it 18? John Boat, suck at drawing. Hello, how's it going? Cece, I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed that content and are into it. Sincere McCormick, I missed this one several hours ago. Out for the season. Man, that's a tough one. The kid finally gets a shot and is done for. Just like that. So what do you guys think? Do you think it's going to be Amir Abdullah or Madison as the better back there? Because they're both kind of... Well, I mean, Madison's not really a receiving back. He was kind of being used in that role. I feel like they're probably, not expected to be the winners. So I feel like the receiving back, Amir Abdullah, much like last week, is probably the better one to own. You guys agree with that? I have Sincere McCormick in a league where I have James Cook, Chase Brown. I think it's James Cook, Chase Brown, and Barkley. So I don't have room for him anyways. But still, I was holding him away from other people. Out for the year. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Out for the season. I mean, at this point, it doesn't take much to get you out for the season. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's serious as much as that was reported by Sincere McCormick on Instagram. John Boat doing good, only down 10 with 1 week left in the playoffs. Do you win? I won both of my matchups, John. Yes. I am still alive. Well, okay, so one of them I'm playing for the championship. The other one I'm playing for 9th place. I'm just playing for respect for that team because that team was not the worst in the league. And in the first round of the playoffs, which we do 2-round playoffs, just like I think you do, John, I had the second most fantasy points by a lot. Like the number 1 and number 2, we scored a lot. So that team's going out and finally producing and not getting unlucky while producing. So hoping to take that 9th spot. That team shouldn't have made it to the playoffs, but should be playing for like our 5th place spot at least in our league. Instead, working on 9th from 12th, climbing the ladder, the playoff ladder. You're gonna drop all your roster on me so I can join? All right. Michael, welcome to the semifinals, guys. Let's take home a ship. Hell yeah. I'm glad to see a lot of you guys have made it. I know not everybody coming in here necessarily has made it. Some people just come to hang around, and that is appreciated as well. But Michael, congratulations. John Boat just dropped. Okay, doing good. Only down 10, 1 week left in the playoffs. Sincere McCormick just dropped him. All right, I gotcha. I was like, wait, who did you drop? I was trying to follow along, but yeah, Sincere. Baker or Murray need 2 wide receivers. Okay, so guys, I have not started on running backs. Running backs will be the rest of my night tonight after I upload my wide receivers video, which that's ready to get uploaded at least, so that doesn't take too much time. But I have my preliminary quarterbacks, tight ends prepared, and my wide receivers video is done, so obviously I have those done. I think there'll still be some movement around. I feel like I feel like Terry's got to almost be like a flex option this week. It was so rough against Philly last time, and I just don't expect it to be any better for him. So Baker or Murray? All right, I pulled up the wrong ones. I pulled up wide receiver. One moment. I wish I had a more swivelable mic stand. That's what I should have freaking asked Santa for. Kyler Murray, I assume, or Baker. I do have Baker ahead of Kyler. I feel like I could see myself closing that gap at some point this week. We'll see. I do feel like Kyler is the safer play with how Dallas has been playing lately. Good. They got the front sevens kind of back together as a unit. So that's definitely helped them to play better. I say Murray's the safer one. Baker's, he's been better on the season and projects, a slight bit better yet. But I don't know about as of late. I'll have to look into that one. Close or suck at drawing. It might close as the week goes along. Need 2 wide receivers. Puka, Sutton, Judy. We're not playing Judy, so Puka and Sutton. 2 running backs. Garendo, Dowdle, Aaron Jones, Najee Harris. So I think it's going to be Jones, Dowdle, and Garendo if I had to guess there for your 2 running backs and flex. Because we're not going to touch Judy. And I know I'll have Aaron Jones ahead of Najee, probably Grendo, Dowdle, playing up against Tampa Bay. Not the best matchup in the world, but I assume he'll be ahead of Najee, but Najee is playing Baltimore, so that's not good. So yeah, probably those 3 second drawing. So really, it's the quarterback spot's the only spot that I'm still kind of on the edge thinking about there. Surprised that McMillan is on my waiver wire. Well, he hasn't done anything all year except for last week. Would you pick him up for like a Braylon Allen? I mean, yeah, I suppose if you're planning on playing McMillan, I really wouldn't care if I went up against McMillan myself. He is my... I've been tracking him all year, so he's part of... Oh, that's the wrong list. Hold up. Come on. McMillan is my wide receiver 67 on the season. I'm only picking him up if I'm playing him. Alright, just killed a flying critter and it got its guts on me. Alright, whatever. Hello, Metro. How are you today? I don't think Ridley's going to do worse with Mason Rudolph. I actually feel better about Ridley with Mason Rudolph, and Ridley's, I mean, still been better than McMillan most all this season. So I don't know what, you got to do you, but I don't think you're going to find anybody that's going to suggest to start McMillan over Calvin Ridley out there. I suck at drawing. I'm second in my league. Let's go. Hey, congratulations. And it's all because of this guy's channel. Appreciate you. I was projected 7th at the beginning. Don't ever worry about those projections. I'm always on ESPN projected like 12th, 11th because of how I build my team in part. I don't have another quarterback, another tight end. So it thinks that like I'm going to lose for sure on a bye week. It's automatically giving me like a loss there for the quarterback's bye week. It doesn't, I guess, like projecting out just one quarterback for other reasons. I don't know, but almost every year I'm projected like last to start the season, and sometimes by week 1 it's up there, but usually throughout the first 5-6 weeks steadily I'm projected higher all of a sudden as I do better. Weird how that works. Playoffs this week. Playoffs? Who do I grab for your quarterback? Your options are Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, and Drake May. I think I have Aaron Rodgers at the top. I have Drake May actually at the top of that list. Now, I will say, Buffalo's a pretty good defense. They have been got a couple times as of late. I don't really think that's because they're a bad defense. I think that's because it was the Detroit Lions and Baltimore, one of the other best offenses in the league. Kansas City too recently. I don't think that was particularly a high-scoring game. Aaron Rodgers against Los Angeles Rams. I mean, it's nice. Drake May just projects better. It's Drake May for me. Like I was about to say, I will say there's definitely a bust chance with Drake May, but it's not like there isn't a chance of busting with Aaron Rodgers. And then a Stafford, he's probably he has been the worst of this bunch on the season. I am optimistic about that. I have him ranked as high as I've had him ranked since, I don't know, maybe week 6 or 7, the first time that he got his crew back together, and had a good matchup on top of that. But then he failed us that week, and it's just been not great ever since. And what was the other one? Russell Wilson. I don't know. Without George Pickens, there's no chance. With George Pickens, I don't think I'll get that high up on him, but it'll be close. It would be close, and would definitely be a playable option at that point. But then we're trusting that George is at 100% and everything as well. All they have is like number 4 wide receivers behind George Pickens. It's a waste pile behind him, so they need him to be able to move the ball well, especially through the air. Yeah, if you want to stack it up, just go with the Garrett A-Rod stack. I think that's a pretty solid stack this week. Hopefully, I'm a little more optimistic about Devontae again this week in this matchup specifically because the Los Angeles Rams kind of allow bigger plays usually is how they've been gotten this year, not through volume. I feel like Garrett Wilson's kind of the shorter A-dot higher volume guy. Devontae Adams gets the volume too, but he's more of the deep route guy. So I am a little bit concerned about that aspect of the matchup, but I'm not letting it get me too concerned about Garrett Wilson. I want him out there in a lot of lineups if I can. I'm looking for ceiling right now since I'm playing a very explosive team with Josh Allen, Gibbs, and Jacobs. Yeah, if you want to stack that ceiling, I think that makes sense. I've got Aaron Rodgers 2 spots behind Drake May in my rankings. Second drawing, I also got Malik Neighbors. I would play Malik Neighbors and Puka probably. I think that's what my wide receiver rankings would say on that one. Second drawing, John Bow. Yep. What I would say, John, is go look at the games where Mason Rudolph was the quarterback earlier this season, and you would see that he targeted Calvin Ridley at this point in the season, I think, at a higher rate, a higher average targets per game than Will Levis. It was the same earlier on in the season, but when Will Levis came back from his injury. But I think at this point, he's probably surpassed him just because Will has not gotten him enough targets as of late. David Morrill, how is it going, David? Full PPR, Ladd, T, or Malik? Pick 2. One moment. Got to switch over to my wide receiver rankings. Ladd, T, Malik. Neighbors. Oh, that's T and Malik. I already know that answer. If you want to play it safe, you can play Ladd over T. If you just want the high floor, games are going to be, especially next week, but this week too, are going to be a little bit more staggered than normal. So maybe you'll be in a position to know that all you're looking for is a high floor because your opponent busts completely. But the reason I say that is I am concerned about T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and going up against Cleveland with DTR in at quarterback. They're not really going to have like a ceiling. They're not. I don't think there's going to be enough volume in that passing attack this week against Cleveland without Jameis Winston for 2 wide receivers to both go off. I mean, both could maybe do okay, but I feel like the most likely scenario would be one goes off, one doesn't, and is hopefully still at like 7 points or something. But it's definitely not. I would say a little bit of bust potential for Amon-Ra and T. Higgins because of that. Did I say something that you thought I was correcting you for the semifinals playoffs this week? I don't know what I said, but I definitely wasn't trying to correct you for anything that you said. Drawing, I don't think. Maybe I was. I don't know. Metro. Never pay attention to. I was projected 10th and 3 games behind 9th. Here I am now, past round 1 and 1 game away from a chance at a chip. Yeah, I think there's something to them, but it depends the site as far as the accuracy for them, because I can tell you Fantasy Pros often likes my team more than to start the season, because they don't do like a straight up I think ESPN just does okay, we're going to check your schedule against. Fantasy Pros actually did a really good job with mine, because Fantasy Pros, my team that did bad, Fantasy Pros liked that team more, but Fantasy Pros also projected that team to do worse on the season. I guess I just didn't ever have matchups where my opponents didn't have their good players, and then because of injury that continued to not be the case. But Fantasy Pros understood that I had a harder schedule, in that league, and correctly called that out. So Fantasy Pros had me just missing the playoffs 5th place, which is probably roughly what should have happened, except it was just terrible luck with my opponents and team. It just didn't go well for that team, as it should have. It should have been much better than it was. But they were right. It was a really, really tough schedule that roster had, even though coming into the season, it thought it was better. Now, I didn't quite agree. I kind of liked the team that did better at the start of the season, but I'll tell you, about 3-4 weeks in, I wasn't feeling that way. And then another 4 weeks later, I was like, okay, now I like this team better, because I just did a better job on the waiver wire with one of my teams. Michael Burgos, Jennings, or Myers on the last flex full PPR. I do have Juwan Jennings over Myers. I definitely like Myers quite a bit, but I still have Juwan Jennings quite a bit higher, because better quarterback, better team, better system, all that good stuff. But, he's a little bit maybe more boomer bust than Myers. Maybe. The only reason I don't quite say he is because assuming Aiden O'Connell is the quarterback, otherwise it's 100% is Juwan Jennings, but if Aiden O'Connell is the quarterback, you like that a lot for Myers, but you also are a little bit concerned about that health and how that might impact him during the game. What kind of world? My matchup? Good. How was your matchup? I won both of mine pretty handedly, so that was nice. Got a little bit lucky in the league that I'm doing well in, as has happened this season. Just a little bit of good luck in that league. And then my other league, which I've had a lot of bad luck in, finally my team's like, all right, let's go. It's playoff time, even though I'm buried in the rankings. David Morrow, I think Ladd, if Surtain is out for Denver, is a good play. Yeah, not a bad play. They just don't pass a whole lot. Ladd doesn't get like a heck of a lot of targets compared to some other guys. I can't remember who. I know you're helping some answer a different question, but Malik Neighbors gets over 10 targets a game, second most targets on the season. I think he was one of those other options, and then it was two very good options. That's all I remember. Somebody else. Metro, how do you feel about my matchups with wide receiver this week? I have JSN to his Amonra. Well, not great there. Jacoby Myers to his Jordan Addison. I like that. And Garrett Wilson to his Shakir. And I think you're in the lead there, but that's a toss-up. So, let's see. I mean, you could take a big league with Jacoby Myers over Jordan Addison. He could take a big league Amonra over JSN, but I think, like, man, that's tough. I'd say I feel like 60% of the time you outscore him with your wide receivers. 40% of the time he'll outscore you. Got kind of leaning about that 58-42, somewhere around there. I'd give you the edge in those three versus those three. Surtain seems to be okay. Yeah, didn't he? He was really good the next day. The reporting on him was that he seemed to have. I think you're right. What kind of world? Correct. Rudolph was force feeding. He had. It was the same. I remember breaking this down in like week 6 or 7 and reporting on it. It was the same exact target share, off by like a fraction of a target, between the first 4 games or whatever of Will Levis targeting Ridley to Mason Rudolph, and that's all with DeAndre Hopkins on the team. I'm pretty sure. So without DeAndre Hopkins, Rudolph, once again, still could probably force feed him. Nick Q, what is up, Nick? Connor or Mixon this week? Connor's in one hell of a matchup. Mixon's kind of banged up. He's had one hell of a season. Houston going up against Kansas City. It's a really rough run defense. Man, Nick, let's ignore what my rankings end up saying, and let's just put Connor in there and close our eyes, shut the book on it, call it a week, and wait and see what happens. Because I don't know if I'm going to have Mixon ranked lower than Connor or Connor higher than Mixon or not. That's going to be a bridge that might be too far, but I don't know for sure on that after last week. That maybe that bridge won't be too far to go. So, I'm pretty optimistic about Connor. And I am a little bit pessimistic about Mixon. Metro would go Mixon. Yeah, it's, once again, I got to see exactly after last week how close that is projections-wise and everything to really feel comfortable to put Connor over Mixon. It's got to be closer than it's been in the past. But I don't know. Connor's been killing it, and I think this is another matchup where he probably will, right? I think I have that right. Arizona playing up against Carolina, the best running back matchup in the league. David, how confident are you that Kamara plays on Monday? Not at all confident in that. Not sure if I should roll the dice or put Ford in. Well, I think Ford's in a nice spot, actually. Well, no. I'm not. I don't know why. People seem to have it in their heads like Cincinnati's a good running back matchup based on rankings last week for experts. I kept trying to push mine down a little bit more because early on in the week, I too was like, oh, well, it's a good matchup against Cincinnati for the running back. I can't remember who it was. And then as I kept looking at the rankings, I'm like, why did I think that's a good matchup when I set these up? Because it really is not. Maybe the week before, maybe 2 weeks ago, a running back did well against them, I feel like. But overall on the season, especially the second half of the season, they haven't been a great matchup. And, in a matchup where you expect Cincinnati to win handedly, then you expect the other team to have to pass at some point on them. So, I mean, I think you're going to end up probably having to play Ford. We'll see what the news, what kind of news comes out the rest of the week. It's only Tuesday right now, David, so it's just too early to tell. I still want Kamara if he's playing. if we feel comfortable at all. I would try to get. I mean, heck, you could even try to just get Jamal Williams, so that way maybe if it's looking really good, but like there's still a question mark, you'd feel comfortable taking that risk that there's a 10% chance that you would have to play Jamal Williams if you can't get Kendre Miller. Would be something to think about, David. My running back matchups is what scared me. I have Achane to his Sonic. Yeah, Gibbs should have a good week. But Achane can always have a really good week, you know, at least keep you in there. Aaron Jones. Are you missing somebody? Aaron Jones Sr., I don't know. Are you calling Aaron Jones Sonic? Because Sonic would be Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm confused on that. If it's Achane versus Aaron Jones, then, I mean, you're in a nice spot there for Achane. And you have JT to his Kamara, and Kamara might not play Metro, so... I mean, that's not looking... Well, I don't know about what the Sonic Aaron Jones thing was there, but... Okay, he has... Josh Jacobs? Oh, you have Aaron Jones is Josh Jacobs. Okay. And I feel like Josh Jacobs, another good matchup this week for him. New Orleans. Yeah, that might be rough. But otherwise, JT versus Kamara, you might be able to get an advantage there. And Achane might be able to hold you in there. How do I feel about Tua versus Knicks versus Aaron? I think I like Aaron this week. What kind of world? I got Knicks one spot ahead of Aaron, so that's kind of like the floor versus the ceiling in a way. Like there's this 14, 15, well, let's say 15 to 16 point outcome that feels the most likely for, you know, probably both of them. But I feel like Bo Nix has the higher chance of hitting in there and not completely busting, whereas Aaron Rodgers, you know, there's still some concern there based on how he's played, or I don't even want to say how he's played because I think he's played fine based on how he's produced throughout the season. Like I think there's a chance that it could not go very well against the Rams for him, but man, the more I look at that, the more I want to put Aaron Rodgers over Knicks, and that was my gut feeling there. So, you know what? I'm gonna do that for now, and maybe I'll switch it later in the week. So for now, my answer is Aaron. Tua's, I have them all back to back to back in my rankings. Tua, I have behind him both. I mean, he projects by far the least there against San Fran. I don't know exactly 100% why it is that he projects so poorly against San Fran. It's not like they're the worst matchup in the world or anything, but he does sometimes, and I trust my quarterback projections quite a bit. So he just kind of fell to the back of that group of three, in large part because of how he projects. Nick, Beard's looking mighty full, dude. Beard gang. Hell yeah, Beard gang. They're starting Penix. That just come out. I don't see it yet. Metro, let's see. Metro, you might. I'm not gonna say it's quite yet, but you might want to check your sources on that one, Metro. I'm guessing you're getting that from somebody on Reddit because I'm not seeing any official reporting on that. But you know, I haven't been looking for very long here, so. Yeah, I don't see any official reporting on that there yet. Hold on, let me check one last spot. Or I only follow official accounts, and I follow a couple people who are banking on that happening based on their statements. They haven't said anything, so unless it happened earlier today. Metro, I think somebody's pulling your leg on that one. They're trying to get ahead of the news. So that way, if it happens, they can say, look, I reported on it. I know what I'm talking about, even though they have zero sources. Benson and DeMarcado likely out against Carolina. All right. Do I roll the dice on Penix Pitts stack instead? I've got no clue that Penix is starting at all yet, so I wouldn't do that yet. Falcons play the Giants. Yes, they do. Oh, yeah, he has Jacobs. Okay, I'm going to go Connor over Mixon. Appreciate the feedback. Nick, good luck. I hope that it works out. Regardless, and keep an eye on the news for Mixon's health as well too. He got banged up a little bit, but the news was good today. David Morrell, other possibility I have besides Ford is Warren. Yeah, I think I'd rather start the starting running back on a team than the backup on a different team. Warren is going to be going up against Baltimore, so there's some positivity there, but I'm a very high chance I'll have Ford ranked higher than Warren, especially given the week that he's coming off of. Could you do kicker, Miller, David? I don't know if I missed something there. What's up? Sorry, I'm late. Austin, you don't have to be. It's not class. You can show up whenever the heck you want, or can. Is Gibbs the RB1 this week? Gosh, I haven't done my running back yet. But I would say there's definitely a very high chance of that. I know that was my initial gut feeling, without knowing the opponent last week, and knowing the opponent, that's definitely not going to stop me. So it's very possible. It depends who a couple of other guys' opponents are, but I'd say top 3 is probably a lock. Well, Metro, the nice thing is the RB1 oftentimes does not finish the week as the RB1. So, the RB1 versus the field, usually the field wins on that. So it was not the end of the world if he's ranked RB1. He could still end up the week as the RB42. IP14, how's it going? Austin started 2 wide receivers, 1 running back. So, like I said, Austin, you weren't here. Have not touched really the running backs yet. I've got my preliminary quarterback, tight ends done. I've got the wide receivers done. Obviously, wide receivers, there will be some shuffling throughout the week because there just always is for wide receiver, but especially this year. But running backs haven't touched yet, so with a grain of salt here on those. Tyreek Hill, BTJ, JSN, Juwan Jennings. Oh boy, this. Something in my gut tells me I have Juwan Jennings the highest out of this group. Is that right? Okay, I've got Juwan Jennings 13th. I've got Brian Thomas Jr. 15th. I've got Tyreek Hill 16th. I've got... Where's Tyreek? Oh, that was Tyreek. That was Brian Thomas. And I've got JSN 19th. Yeah. I've got Juwan Jennings just a little bit ahead of those guys. I talk about it in my video. I'm probably going to lower him from here. So I think my answer is probably Brian Thomas Jr. Probably. Maybe Tyreek. It's one or the other. I'm pretty sure I'm going to drop Juwan Jennings down in the rankings. So let's just... He'll still probably be higher than JSN in my rankings. Maybe not. Maybe that'll be the line, actually, even for Juwan Jennings, right behind JSN. That's a tough group. It's between Brian Thomas Jr. and Tyreek for me at this point. I have Brian Thomas Jr. ahead of Tyreek. We'll see if that remains the same throughout the week, though. I know you'll be around some, so Austin. So we'll figure that out. But right now, that's the battle. I get to start too. So Tyreek Hill, Brian Thomas Jr. Let's do that. Grendo, Rashad White, Charbonnet. Well, I think if Charbonnet is the starter, it's probably him. If Kenneth Walker's playing, we're not going to do that. And then I'm not 100% sure, but I lean towards maybe Grendo. San Fran, who are they playing against? Miami, Tampa Bay, Dallas. That's tough. I'm leaning Grendo there for the upside, Austin, but I really don't know yet for sure. I gotta look a little bit closer at that. Start 3 wide receiver, PPR. Neighbors, McLaurin, London, Dwan Jennings. Um, Neighbors, London, Dwan Jennings, probably. I'm gonna be as low as I can physically get with McLaurin, due to the matchup. Gibbs, definitely RB1 this week, coming from Bears fan. Our run D sucks balls. Yes, it does, 14. Yes, it does. Yeah, Metro, I'm trying to get the one spot too. It's been a little while. I've had a lot of disappointing finishes in fantasy. A lot of good seasons with disappointing finishes in recent years. Glad you got the wide receivers done. Tell me my boy Mike Evans is getting to respect put on his name. Last week, somebody forced me to get him lower in my rankings. I had him like 12 to begin the week, and then somebody convinced me to put Cortland Sutton up higher, and in doing that, I had moved Evans back a little bit due to his inconsistency. I agree. People have been disrespecting him a lot this season. I've got him back in at 12th right now in the rankings, and I don't know that he's going to be moving from there. You know, still inconsistent floor and everything, but I think Dallas will be able to move the ball on them enough that they'll keep Tampa Bay passing enough. Yeah, my wide receivers are ranked as if Geno is playing based on the most recent news. Yeah, I wonder if we have a Lions fan. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think if I recall someone coming out as a Lions fan in here, not before. Is it a bad choice to start Bucky if I got Baker and Evans starting? I mean, there's not much you can do about that. You put yourself in that position. You've had this question a few times, right? 14. I mean, they don't really eat off of the same platters, so you just got to do what you got to do. I mean, have Mike Evans, Bucky Irving, and Baker all not been some of the best in the, of their position on the season? Yeah, they are. So, I mean, you just kind of got to play them if you have them. There's not a whole lot you can do about that. Just lowers your ceiling a little bit, that's all, but it also kind of raises the floor, at least in weeks where they're in a good matchup. And tough to say that Dallas is a bad matchup. They've gotten better, they've gotten healthier, but I don't think they're a bad matchup. So, should be fine this week. Well, Metro, a lot of the times people score on you guys in the fourth quarter, or go hog wild on you in like the fourth quarter after you guys built a good lead on them over the first 3 quarters. You got an aggressive defense, so you actually, I think, do allow. Oh yeah, pretty sure you guys do allow some big plays, but maybe I'm wrong on that. Um, usually an aggressive defense. I know it's a little different with that system. Middle of the league in terms of yards, not really leaning in either direction. Yards per completion. So just average, probably. That's not exactly a measure of big play. I don't think I have access to that stat. How are we feeling on Njoku with DTR? I mean, he's like the only piece that I will possibly touch there. I don't trust DTR with anything. I believe I still have Njoku ranked higher than Pat. And that's close to where the line is, I think. Wrong thing here. Where are we? Tight ends. I have Njoku 2 spots ahead of Pat Frymuth right now. And I'm pretty sure that'll stay. It's the Cincinnati defense at least, so it's not the most stingy. Definitely don't have like some great linebacker core or anything to cover tight ends, and I do anticipate that that's the one spot that DTR will get the ball to at a fair rate consistently. And after the catch, too, Njoku's good after the catch. So I think there's a chance of Njoku doing something big. I don't have much of a faith anybody else doing much there. JSN is ahead of DK in the wide receiver rankings. Tampa Bay also went to get Evans that 11th consecutive 1K season. Yes. Yeah, IP14. I do not currently have Howell as the quarterback there. If Howell's the quarterback, I will not be starting any Seattle wide receiver. Nick, Josh Allen, minus 900 to win MVP. Mission accomplished. One moment, guys. Just seen a lot of talk about JSN. Very, very high chatter. And I just want to read off some numbers for you guys. And maybe I'll be surprised by the numbers. So I'm just looking them up. Let's do this. Jackson Smith. We have a better game against Green Bay than I remembered. And the targets were there. Okay, that's good. Maybe I won't have to read off any numbers. Maybe I won't have to read anything off. One last thing here. Because it is a good matchup. Alright, so JSN's still 21st wide receiver on the season on a weekly basis. Just something to keep in mind. As of late, has been better, but also, it's not all roses. Since DK Metcalf came back, so since the bye week for JSN, 11, 7, 4, 5, the past 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago targets. That's nothing great. 12, so inconsistent, not incredibly high floor or ceiling there. And scoring wise, he did make it through those 4 and 5 games because he gets a touchdown in one of them, and this other one I forget. Did he throw for? No, that's just the end result. So 9.9 points on 4 targets. Also, very good, but incredibly efficient. Nothing that you can totally anticipate. Once again, good matchup this week, so maybe you could be kind of expecting that kind of efficiency. It has been good even since then week 9 in terms of fantasy points scored. He's definitely been on fire, and all that coming off of the heels of when DK was gone, they started kind of using him differently. He will end up higher than he's ranked. He will end up being, let's see, I would suspect he will end up at least 17th. Still 21st on the season, still coming off of a 4-target and a 5-target game recently. It's not, once again, all sunshine and roses. Top 10's asking a lot. So, top 10 chatter, I think, is a little bit much, but he'll probably be higher than 19th by the time that the week is over there. All right, Josh Allen minus 900 win MVP. Wow, I wouldn't bet on that, I guess. I'm about to start BTJ and he's going to get 0 points. Right, I hear you. Austin. Nick, no, don't do it. IP, I was calling early to mid-season, that Brian Thomas Jr. would be a league winner, quite probably, based on the schedule and everything, end of season. It definitely lost my faith with Trevor Lawrence leaving, but ever since Trevor Lawrence left, it's really been nice. So, I don't know. I guess maybe that helped my my prediction come true, if nothing, somehow, some way. I always like the Eagles defense, and I feel pretty good against Washington with the Eagles defense. They just the things that Washington can do and does do are limited, but they can do them quite well. But Eagles have more resources that they can dedicate to shutting that down, and really good resources. So the threat of the run and even the tight end threat when Zach Ertz was available were both negated by the linebackers that they have, the talent, speed, athleticism included of the Eagles linebacking core. And then no matter where you put Terry, you try and put him in the slot, you try and put him outside, you try and move him around. It really doesn't matter. They have a good enough secondary that they can handle dedicating the resources to just essentially doubling Terry in one way or the other in every given play. And then there's just really no weapons for Jaden Daniels to go to. And then his escape routes, the rushing upside, and that all kind of disappears as well. And you're going to end up with a lot of 3-and-out drives, a lot of drives where maybe he gets sacked because he can't find anything out there. And just like last time, I think you probably end up with a game where the Eagles dominate Washington. That's my expectation. And if it was a better offensive coordinator, if it was a coach that I had more faith in, I would say maybe that they'll come up with something different now that they've seen what the Eagles can do to him. And come up with some wrinkles, but that's really not what I expect from this coaching staff. On the offensive side of the ball in Washington. Bengals, they are coming off of a good week. It is a good matchup. I would much rather trust the good defense than the bad defense. So I like the Eagles more than the Bengals because I like to play good defenses and not bad defenses. Now, there are sometimes cases like Kansas City. There are cases of real-world good defenses. They haven't been good as of late, but you go look at the first 10 games of the season, whatever, 7 games, I don't know, when they were one of the league's best defenses overall, and they still didn't do much fantasy-wise. So it's not always the case, but the Eagles are just good. Yeah, but Nick, I feel like Gibbs, he was already like a top 5, 6 running back. I feel like it's tough to. I mean, if he creams it, I guess maybe people would label him as a league winner type. If he's getting 30 points over the next 2 weeks in each of those games, but otherwise, I mean, you were already getting over 20 points from him, so he was already helping you win. Do we trust Purdy again? What did I do with Purdy? I think I trusted him for the most part. Yeah. It's because it's against Miami. I am currently trusting Purdy. It's not like a great quarterback week. You got a guy like Patrick Mahomes going up against Houston, who's coming off of playing better, but it was a really good matchup for a few weeks before that. Patrick Mahomes on the season hasn't really had a whole lot of upside, and he's injured and everything. Yet I got him as my quarterback 12 here. Drake May I got as quarterback 13, but he's going up against Buffalo. It's not a good matchup at all. Aaron Rodgers, somebody we perennially have ranked in the 20s at 14. It's just not like that pretty right now at quarterback. So I do have Brock 10th. There's the upside of playing against Miami, maybe being kind of a higher scoring game. It's really just what you're hoping for there. And Miami's struggled a little bit more as of late, too, against the pass. Yeah, IP, like another factor, where they're drafted, has to deal with how that thought goes into, league winner. Usually first round, second round guys aren't considered league winners because they're supposed to be good. JSN 6 yards away from 1K yards. Attaboy, that's awesome. She's saying he's at least getting 6 yards. Austin, I would not bet the bank on it, but there's a chance. Hey, don't underestimate Craig Reynolds. I'm ranking Craig Reynolds this week. Craig will get carries. This will not, 100% of the work will not be going to Jahmyr Gibbs. Well, IP, so they double Terry all game. Doubling in the NFL has not done a whole lot. I don't know if they technically doubled him a whole lot or not the first time. I would imagine probably they did. Even if they didn't, they were put resources around him at all times to where he had attention at all times. Cliff recently started to move him around to right wide receiver instead of only left wide receiver. Wow, Cliff can actually move a guy from one side of the field to the other. That's improvement. That's improvement. DeAndre Hopkins never once moved him. So glad to see that. Still don't think he can call a creative game plan, but that is good to see that he could have a guy line up in a different spot, actually, for once. Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to try to move him around as much as possible. I assume they did last time, but there's just nowhere you can move him around to get away from this Philadelphia defense with the other weapons they have. Philly has nothing to be afraid of except for the feet of Jaden Daniels, and they can cover that with their linebackers and, Terry. And they can cover him with multiple different guys dedicated to him because they don't have anything else to be worried about and because they're very highly talented and playing very well. Not saying Terry can't beat any of their guys. Just that I think there's enough resources that he's going to have to beat more than one. They're going to have to take some risks throwing that ball, or a breakdown in communication will have to happen to open things up on the right play, and then you got to hit it. I think it didn't take a lot for a good game there. Sam Hubbard is also done for the year. Oh, that's no good. Austin, not very confident in Tua this week. That's why I got him ranked 16th. Nick, league winners, BTJ, JSN, Ladd, Bucky, Chuba. Yeah, I don't think Ladd's a league winner. He doesn't really... He's just consistently good. I I don't really think that the upside's quite there with him. But BTJ, JSN, Bucky, Chuba, definitely all in line to have helped some teams really get there. Yeah, Nick, I agree. That's why every single week, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, for the most part, Jaden Daniels, though this week will be differently, are all like the top 4. That's why I drafted Jaden Daniels. That's why I thought he should have been ranked about 7th in the preseason instead of like 13th, where he was getting taken. Joe Burrow was my top non-running quarterback. Well, because that team just passes. Call Sam Darnold a blind spot for me in the offseason. Oh, yeah, Chase Brown. And hey, there's the one that I was on top of. I actually did encourage... I don't like draft in a style where Chuba was high on my list because I assumed he was going to get replaced at some point earlier on in the season. But I did say Chuba would be all right while he was used. I just didn't think he'd be used all season. Or be as good as he was. Let's face that. Or Bucky. Those were blind spots. But BTJ, JSN, I think I was maybe even a little bit high on, but definitely in line with. And Ladd, I was high on those two. So, I did okay with those league winners in terms of where I had them. Joe Burrow is an exception. Oh, look at that IP. Good timing. Would I play May? I would play May. I would not play Safford over Tua. I would play May over Tua. Caleb Williams, AOC, no. AOC is obviously in a really good matchup. Even if he was fully healthy, I still wouldn't have him that high, though. Caleb Williams brings you that rushing upside that we just talked about to some extent. A lot of times that also doesn't happen. Very inconsistent with that. Caleb projects pretty well. I didn't trust it. I have him ranked 20th. I think that's in line with the experts as well, not trusting it. But the projection does put him right up there and ahead of Tua, but not ahead of Drake May. Anthony Richardson, well, you know what you're getting yourself into there. If you want to play Anthony Richardson, go for it. I mean, honestly, it's not like a world of difference over Drake May or Caleb Williams there. I do have him ranked over Caleb Williams. Nobody trusted Rodgers last week either, even though I suggested him to one or two people and had him, kind of well ranked. And he went off and was like the number 3 quarterback on the week, so... it happens. Not super high on my wide receiver list this week. Wilson, McLaurin, J-Mo, Ridley. Yeah, I don't know why Ridley makes that list other than he's just been disappointing. I'm not crazy high on him either. I have him ranked 26th or something like that. So I guess it depends what you're comparing him to. The experts have him ranked really high, I think, yet again. I'm not quite there. Not even 26th. 31st. So... maybe I guess I probably am in agreement with you on that. J-Mo. Where the heck is he? Couple spots behind that. I feel like that's kind of a normal ranking, though. I don't know. It's Chicago. Similar to last week, kind of like... if he's going to have a big day, he's got to be with the touchdown, probably. But I think Chicago's a little bit more susceptible to the deep play than Buffalo. Buffalo really creates that shell that just doesn't allow it. McLaurin, really afraid of. Wilson, I don't know why you'd be really scared about Garrett against the Rams. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me there. But I agree with you, 3 out of 4 there. Sutton or Bucky PPR? Probably Bucky. Running backs have been winning, and Sutton actually I have as a fade of the week. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll end up having Bucky over him. Because Bucky should be better by next week, right? Hopefully. We'll see. If he's still limited by a back injury in practice and stuff, Maybe we're expecting him to be a little bit limited, and we get a little scared on that. I still haven't seen anybody report that Penix. Here it is. Okay. All right. 20 minutes ago. Michael Penix. I was trying to look for that report earlier, and nobody had it up there yet. I don't know how early you were on it, but nice call. Nice source. Well, that helps. That gets me a little bit more excited about Drake London. For sure. Penix, gosh. I still think they're going to run a lot. Who are you? Well, I'll find out who you're asking about him over. All right. Dan DBC, hello, hello. How are you doing today? Should London owners be a little bit happier with Penix? Dan, I do think we could be a little bit happy with Penix. I'm still not overly excited to get him out there this week. I mean, it's Michael Penix. I don't know. I did think, the main reason that I didn't have Michael Penix as a first-round draft pick was his injury downside, not necessarily his play on the field. So, yeah, I'm not too like super like, oh my god, he's just a bad like DTR. It's not like that. Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So, a little excited about it. It's the New York Giants. I expect some sort of similar game plan to what we saw, but I'm sure they'll let Michael Penix let it rip maybe a couple times at least. But I think there will be a lot of running, and I don't think they'll have to pass a whole lot. So, once again, not overly excited about Drake, but I'm a little bit better, or a little bit more excited with Penix. Thank you, What Kind of World, for the report. I gotta figure out. See, I've got Kirk Cousins, ranked 26. That's gonna be a Michael Penix. Play him over a Geno Smith. See, Michael Penix doesn't come up with any rushing upside. Cooper Rush against Tampa Bay. I mean, I just feel like these guys have more ceiling. Cooper Rush is. Aiden O'Connell, Jacksonville. Ugh. For now, I'm just putting Michael Penix 25th. I know he's going to get higher. He's going to be ranked higher because people are going to be excited, and it's the New York Giants. But I just can't help but think they're just going to run all game. 20 pass attempts, maybe, It's not a lot. It's about 2/3 of a game. To half. It's like 2/3 to half of a regular game. It's really closer to half than 2/3. Especially a good fantasy game. Let me just erase these projections here. And I don't know. It's one of those weird weeks, though, too, kind of like last week where we got, like, the Cooper Rushes, the Aiden O'Connells, ranked really low because of who they are and what they've done on the season, but they're also in good matchups, just like last week. They might come through again. Would I play Michael Penix over Russell Wilson? I feel like I could. Maybe I just got to lower Russell Wilson, but I'm kind of, like, waiting to see on the wide receiver news there. Man. It's tough. IP14's all on it. Play Penix. Nick, rookie quarterbacks have been a mixed bag. Well, I think it's because I watched the game, a fair bit of that game last night while I listened to the other game, And I gotta say that Kirk Cousins didn't look like himself. I thought he looked, not only physically, but maybe because of how he's been playing as of late, and because he is limited physically. So he looks limited physically, but then he looks almost like he's drowning out there. You know, they'll say that a lot of times about, especially like rookie quarterbacks and stuff, like Caleb Williams. A lot of times when he's playing, it looks a little bit like he's drowning out there. Kirk Cousins does not look himself. So I think they're, spinning the wheels kind of in a way where they can always easily go back to Kirk Cousins, especially next year, depending on how things turn out here. And if not, they can always, if everything works out well, they can always ship Kirk Cousins off somewhere else, Christian Cousins, or something, find a way to get rid of him in some way or another, because he's damaged goods. So you can sell it to your fan base, and then if he goes off wherever you sell him to, like, whatever, you still got your guy. Yeah, sure, you didn't get as much as maybe you could have for him, but whatever. And while you're paying you can pay a fair bit of that contract to wherever he goes. You can pay for him to play for someone else. So it's kind of a no loss. If Penix isn't there yet, I think they can go back and they can just say that this is, they probably did say this is a lot due to like the health or something of Kirk Cousins, and that due to that right now, they think that Michael Penix Jr. gives them the best chance to win. That's probably how you sell it. Brandon Boyle is the Giants quarterback again. It sure seems like it IP14, right? It's the weirdest thing to say. He doesn't even project as good as some of the other guys, but he sure had Neighbor's number when we needed him to. They actually benched Kirk. I know, I'm a little bit surprised, but I said it after or during that game. I think I was like, now's going to be the time that you can actually bench Kirk. Like, it actually works out right now with, I don't think anybody can complain about it. A week ago, I didn't quite think so, or 2 weeks ago, but after seeing him play this week against Las Vegas, it's just, he's bad right now. I don't think he's a bad quarterback. He's just bad right now. Kyler or Darnold? What kind of world? I got Kyler on that one, I think. I shouldn't have said that. I've got Darnold higher than Kyler. I've got the man himself, Sam Darnold, as my QB5. I'm much happier to play Kyler this week than last week, but not that happy. We'll stick with Sam on that one. Would you start McMillan over Reed? No. Reed is still... I've still got Reed pegged as the wide receiver 37 on a weekly basis. McMillan was, 67th. Don't know if anybody on the Falcons is startable right now. Okay, I'm at the receivers. Oh, I think Drake's still startable, but I was already worried about him in this game. I actually feel better about him. It was bad. It was bad under Kirk Cousins. Got to run later, Nick. What kind of world? London's still better than some random waiver wire pickup. Yeah, much better. All right, look at that. Good timing, about 9 o'clock. Wow, you guys do have good movie taste. Scrooged, Krampus in second. I don't know who the heck voted for Black Christmas. I don't know what you're smoking. I assume maybe you're watching Black Christmas like 1974 or whatever, and not the 1990s Black Christmas. Because My God, that's bad. But you all do have to go out and watch Better Watch Out. That's your homework. Go find it, rent it, whatever. Better Watch Out. Really good movie. And I kind of do recommend watching the trailer, but only if you will watch it anyways, because the trailer kind of sets you up different. I don't know. It doesn't matter if you watch the trailer or not, really. But if you do, don't let that be the reason that you don't watch the movie. Is what I mean. And don't go looking up reviews or anything either. But we don't know if Penix will do good or bad, so it's a gamble. There is some of a gamble, but he was, the number 8 pick, and he's had some time to sit. I think he'll be able to get the ball to a good receiver, and I think that Drake London's a good receiver. I just don't know how often they're going to try. Yeah, 2019 Black Christmas. I didn't know what year. Did I say the 90s? I don't think I meant that. I think I meant not the 2020s. Recently. There's two of them. There's like a 2007 or something, and then a 2019, and then like the original one. And that original one is basically a remake of like a 19 like the first slasher flick, or it's one of the first slasher flicks. Is Black Christmas one of the first slasher movies ever? I feel like this gets... It's credited as being one of the first slasher films. Yeah. But I think it's made... I think it's... 2006, not 2007. My bad. I thought Black Christmas was like knowingly inspired by some other slasher flick, but yeah, Black Christmas is considered like one of the first slasher flicks, 1974. Would you go Kyler and Marv for upside? What upside? I don't know. I'm a big underdog in this matchup. Other wide receivers are Smith, Higgins, Cup. Well, let me see how much higher I have Smith and how the projections work between him and Marv. That might be like worth trying. I got Smith like 8 spots higher. The projections between them are pretty much identical. I just like Smith a little bit more right now because without the tight end, and we saw it last week, he does get targeted more, and he gets targeted on some shorter, easy to catch stuff. So I like he actually comes with the floor, whereas before he's just boom or bust. So that's the only thing that I like about him is now he has a floor, and he can still boom. Marvin Harrison, is Marvin Harrison. I do like him quite a bit this week. I think like this would be your week to get him going, right? If you're just like, we want to end this season on some good vibes. We want Marvin Harrison to have another big game before we end the season. Carolina does not have a good secondary. Just get him going in this game. Get him 11, 12 targets. Get some easy stuff going for him. Let him have a big day. Let him feel good about it. That's what I would do if I was the coaching staff there, and I think that they might do that too. I think that they might feel that same way. So I'm cool with that. If you want it for Smith, I'm keeping Higgins. He has a bit of a bust potential, but he's also boom potential. Cup, the same idea. Bust or boom potential is there for him always because he's just not the number one read anymore. Puka is my number one wide receiver of the week. Puka. So Kyler, Marv for the upside. Let's do it. It's a Wonderful Life is the best Christmas movie ever, says Tyler. My parents agree with you. It's solid. It's a solid Christmas movie. I liked it as a kid. I was gonna watch it, then I watched the trailer, right? And then you didn't watch it after you watched the trailer, Dan. Go right ahead and watch it. Trust me. Don't look up anything on why. I can't tell you why. It's just, it's a good movie. I mean, I can tell you that the trailer's not exactly spot on. IP14, Hawkinson or Brenton Strange? Just to give you an idea. Well, I think Peacock shows you, like, the Rotten Tomatoes stuff, right? But Rotten Tomatoes, 89%. I've still got Hawkinson over Brenton Strange on that one. I'm not married to that. I'm pretty sure that's how I'm going to end the week, but I'm not married to that. Like, you want to play Brenton Strange, you can go for it, you know? I did a projection based on, I think it's 3 games for Brenton Strange. Oh, hold up. I lied to you. I did do it. I did put Brenton Strange ahead of Hawkinson for the ceiling purpose. So actually, I have Brenton Strange ranked 8th. I have Hawkinson ranked 10th. I projected just the 3 games, I think it was. Maybe it's 4, where Evan Ingram wasn't playing this season for Brenton Strange. And he projects out nicely. 5.8 to 10.6 fantasy points. Pretty much projects, I mean, that's better than Sam Laporta. That's below the big 4, Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, George Kittle, Jonnu Smith. And Jonnu Smith's, obviously, his projection is also tweaked to just the weeks since they started using them like they've been using them. The floor is a little bit lower than TJ Hawkinson. The ceiling, though, was significantly higher there. That's better than Mark Andrews. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, just 7 guys who project better than him. So definitely deserving of like that 8, 9 spot maybe. What kind of world? You're welcome. All right, so your good tastes go appreciated here. Good job, guys. We're going to end the poll. I've got to get back to work, unfortunately. With my luck, as soon as I bench Hawk, he will get his first touchdown of the season. Yeah, I'm just going to keep going with him. Hope that he comes through with the touchdown. He's been okay with the floor, you know. He hasn't been so bad. I got to replace him. Just kind of hoping for a little bit more from him any day. That's kind of what worries me about Brenton Strange is we are kind of, you know, I don't know, putting our money on an offense that's a little bit flim-flam right now, run by Mac Jones. Las Vegas isn't like some great matchup. They are missing some pieces, though. But they've been, like, okay on the season. Really, just all around, they're, like, just, like, okay. All right. I think that's it. I got to get back to work. Let me see here. Let's see if there's any more news on that Michael Penix. Any quotes to go along with it or anything like that. Can't play that. 5 of 6 quarterbacks taking the top 12 picks are now starting, and one of them just can't start. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy, to a knee injury. Exactly. So really 6 of 6, because JJ probably would have. I mean, maybe he wouldn't have this year. Maybe they would have been fine sitting him for the year with how well Sam has played. Falcons signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year, $180 million contract this offseason with $90 million fully guaranteed. He will head to the bench after starting just 14 games. Right, but I bet years 3 and 4 of that contract I think are fine. It's just this year, next year. Falcons are paying Kirk Cousins $62.5 million this season as part of the 4-year, $180 million deal. So yeah, 1/3 of it being paid this year. He's due $27.5 fully guaranteed in 2025. That's significantly less, but that is fully guaranteed. And he has a no trade clause. But he can okay a trade. Well, this might help the quarterback strain. Might help New York Giants maybe get a bridge quarterback in there for a year or something as they wait for Arch Manning. I don't know. Appreciate it. What kind of world? Easy money, robbery. They took a gamble, and that's why they wisely, I guess. It appears at this point that's why they drafted Michael Penix. They said, hey, he is older. He does have this injury. I mean, I think the Kirk Cousins that played football the previous several years, was deserving of this money. I thought he was a fine quarterback, and I thought that team was kind of close. The only thing is they needed to take a defensive player with that first pick to help close the gap on defense in order to be a Super Bowl contender with Kirk. But they didn't. They took Penix, and it might kind of all work out better for them in the end anyways. Yeah, interesting. It'll be interesting to see how that works out and what they do with I keep wanting to call him Christian Kirk, with Kirk Cousins if things work out with Penix there. IP14, that's what I said. Not that he lost a few brain cells, it wasn't my wording, but he has that glazed over kind of look. He just doesn't look like himself. I think he's very frustrated, probably in part with just like his actual physical limitations. I think are part of what's frustrating him. Might be frustrated with how they're trying to utilize him. Maybe he thinks he should be used differently too because of his limitations physically. I don't know. I mean, we know he didn't come in with, there was always this this wasn't the kind of guy to put this pressure on. I remember somebody saying this too about him. So this isn't a totally original thought, but was just that some guys, you could have done that with. First of all, you talk to, you don't blindside the new guy that you just drafted like that. I mean, you can, but they were kind of setting it up for this in a way because he's not maybe the strongest mentally guy ever. You could kind of tell from how he took the news. He's a bit of he works off of being a little bit jaded, but he's a little bit insecure because he's not the most physically talented to begin with. He doesn't have all of the tools. He just gives 200% effort and spends every waking hour of 6 days out of the week to trying to be the best at football that he can be. And so, he might have felt the pressure of the news from over the past 2 to 3 weeks, and maybe that's gotten to him. Because he definitely didn't take the news too good when it happened that they drafted Michael Penix. And so, this might have all kind of been self-fulfilling from that point forward when they drafted Michael Penix. Just kind of cemented the final failures of... The mistake was just signing him in the first place for the Falcons. Somebody said robbery of the year. I think it's more like mistake of the year. IP. If you're going to pick up Michael Penix, why spend... what is that? $140 million over 4 years on Kirk Cousins. All right. Well, hopefully Kirk can go somewhere else. Maybe finish his career with a few wins, not looking so terribly for a year or two, and then retire. And with that note, peace out. You guys have a good night. I gotta find the right button. I was in the wrong area. There we go. End in the stream.